Welcome to Getting Down to Business. I'm Jill Brown, Academic and Career Advisor with the Mooma College of Business. And this podcast is my favorite part of the day, and I hope it brings you guys some joy too.
And I am so excited. Thanks, Jill. My name is Ashley Curtis. I'm the Career Counselor and Internship Coordinator with the Mooma College of Business, where we bring you, students and employers, connecting you with leadership topics and industry best practices.
And today we have two members of the Grant Thorton team representing talent acquisition and audit. Appreciate you both coming to set, and we cannot wait to get to know you better and the opportunities available for our USF students at Grant Thornton. So the mic is yours.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. My name is David Corby. I am a Audit Sr in our Tampa office. So I've been with the firm for about 4 years, going into my 5th year as an S3. Happy to be here.
Welcome.
And my name is Amanda Shere. I'm the University Recruiting Senior Associate at Grant Thornton out of our Tampa office. And I've been here for a few months, since January. So still very new, learning the ropes, but very excited to be back here on campus. I am a USF alum. Just excited to share all the great things that Grant Thornton has for USF students.
Isn't someone else an alum sitting here?
Yes, I'm also an alumni too. Yeah, I'm originally from Melbourne, Florida, and then came to Tampa for USF.
What, a native?
Ooh.
Yeah, native Floridian.
Shocker.
Liked Tampa a lot more than I thought I was going to, so I decided to stay, and I ended up staying in our Tampa office. Yeah. Originally, I had aspirations of going to New York, but then I got over that real quick.
There's always time. Always time.
Well, welcome. We're really excited to have you both. We want to kick things off. I'm going to ask you both if you have a quote or a mantra that inspires you. So, David, I'll start with you.
Normally, I tell myself a lot throughout the day, I'm not that dumb. Is normally what I just tell myself when I'm trying to get through my work or I'm trying to figure something out. I always remind myself, I was like, yes, I don't understand this now, but eventually I will understand. And sometimes I have to remind myself that other people were once in my same spot too. So just something to help me keep me level-headed.
That's important.
Yeah.
We've talked about imposter syndrome in previous episodes, and I think that's important sometimes for us to realize. It's like, you know, there's always room to grow.
Yeah, I try to stay away from the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so a mantra or saying, well, I'm going to try not to butcher this, but my saying is que sera, sera.
Oh, yeah.
So it means like what will be, essentially. And for someone who's high stress, high anxiety a lot of the time, reminding myself that there are just some things that are out of my control and that everything's going to work itself out the way that it needs to is the biggest thing that I say to myself and say to everyone else, like, just relax. It's going to be okay.
But it's a nicer way to say that instead of be like, chill out.
I know, exactly.
Yeah, no, I have that stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Thank you. That'll be with me
That
the rest
song?
of the week.
You're welcome.
But yes. All right. So we also like to do a little word association.
Okay.
And we're gonna fire back and forth. And if you'll just say the first thing that kind of comes to mind.
Okay.
Amanda, this one's to you. Collaboration.
Teamwork.
David, innovation.
New ideas.
Service.
Volunteer.
Trust.
Do I like you?
Important questions.
Yeah.
It's fun. I know it's a little scary. Sometimes you're like, oh gosh, this wasn't on the script. But yeah, no, it's good. And we caught some of these words on your website. So
Gotcha.
if that didn't trigger anything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all right.
Awesome. Well, thank you for playing. Now, let's get down to business.
Okay.
So, would each of you share with us a little bit about what Grant Thornton means to you and the values that it brings to the Tampa Bay community?
So specifically, GT to me is, I didn't realize it as I was a student, but going into it, it has turned into the most ideal workplace for me, with the flexibility that it offers all of our employees, getting to work from home, going into the office whenever I want, kind of making my hours. It has just turned into a space where I feel like I get to exercise kind of my accounting knowledge and really grow and learn as a professional. So Grant Thornton, like personally to me, has really turned into a place that makes me feel like I'm on the right path to being a young professional and just kind of thriving.
Yeah.
And then to the community, it offers the same, not just to me, but to any student or accounting enthusiasts that want to go and start in public accounting, either use it as a stepping stone to go into private if there's a certain lane that you want to go into, or if you find out that public accounting is something that you enjoy being in, it's just another place that it allows people to thrive.
Awesome.
So,
Thank
I
you.
love that. Yeah. Okay.
You're like, you stole my answer.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
No, so I've been working what I consider a really long time for me. Going through like college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought maybe I wanted to be a teacher. So, I went through school kind of with that intention, testing out different majors, realizing like teaching's not for me. So I floundered a lot and ended up like working for an insurance company. Then I went back to school, got my master's. I worked for institutions like Florida State University and USF. And while I loved that, there's a certain thing, and to David's point, is like finding an employer that really like speaks to you and your personal values. And I really feel like Grant Thornton was that place. So when I was interviewing, every single person I talked to just felt like a real human being. Like you could really bring yourself to work and just be yourself. And I really loved that because to me, trying to like put on a different face or facade every day when you go into work is not ideal. Like it's already stressful enough being an adult, going to work and like having to live this life that's, society says you have to live. I didn't want to have to put another layer on that and like be someone I wasn't. So I really love that I can like come to work, or to David's point, like I work from home now. So it's amazing. Like 95% of the time I, get to be at home where I feel most comfortable.
Yeah.
So, that was like one huge component of it, is just everyone felt really genuine. And then on like a much larger scale, like Grant Thornton's a huge organization. Like we are worldwide,
Right.
Obviously our primary functions in the US, but like we have places all over the world. So if you want to travel and like that's your thing, there's opportunities to make that happen. We have something called secondments where, maybe David can speak to that a little bit more later, but like if travel's your thing, cool, you can go abroad. For me, working from home was super important as a new mom, and Grant Thornton really embraces and supports new moms. So again, kind of aligning your values with the employer is super important. And then from a community standpoint, like you can volunteer, you can give back in different ways. We have like, we call them BRGs, business resource groups, that you can be a part of. So it's for special populations, if you want to be more involved in that. Like, again, I'm part of the new parents group. I know this is kind of long-winded, but essentially there's so many different avenues to like support the community, and the organization really cares about giving back to the community. And that is something that I thought was really important too when I was making the choice of like where to go.
As you're describing it, it almost sounds like an extension of college life,
it really
where
does.
you don't necessarily have to have all the answers. It can be an entry level, a stepping stone, but then be yourself. You have some control and flexibility. So sounds really cool, actually.
GT definitely supports like the individual and kind of embraces the little different flocks of life that we could all bring to the engagement.
I'm curious because you guys are talking on something that I think students think a lot about as they start job searching around culture fit. And I'm curious, what would be one advice as you think about, somebody sitting with, how do I find a company that matches or fits my culture values? What would you recommend or say to them?
The one thing I noticed when I was going through recruiting with GT, in particular with the people that I talked to, I never felt nervous. Everything felt organic when we were talking. I found myself being excited to talk to some of the professionals again. And not only just the professionals, but the other students at the time that were also going through the same recruiting process that had the similar interest in Grant Thornton that would eventually be my coworkers today. It just felt safe versus when I was recruiting with other companies, just the same click didn't happen. So in the end, it almost felt like an obvious decision. I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna work here.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be different for for everyone as they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
All right. What do you believe as you've traversed your career at GT and
Mhm.
with multiple different companies and now at GT, what skills do you think are essential, for our students listening to really think about and grow, enhance so that they can be successful with this transition to job?
The first and most important skill is probably communication. Just keeping open communication of like, hey, I don't understand this, or I need some more help.
Asking for
looking
help.
through this. Asking for help is a big one. It's okay
is.
to admit that you don't know the answer.
Right.
You don't want to be the person that you just get into more trouble because you were too stubborn to admit you don't know the answer.
Or you just push it aside.
Or you try pushing it aside because it's always going to come back.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
always going to pop back up. So definitely communication. Don't be
Mhm.
afraid to let someone know when you need help. And also communication, it works with if you're able to communicate what you are able to do and your thought process of working through different assignments.
Mhm.
It helps your superior either let you know that you did a great job and like,
Mhm.
thank you for thinking of that, or I never thought of that myself, or letting you know like where to steer you in the right direction. I was like, okay, you already thought of this. If that didn't work, let's try this other avenue, which is usually it just comes with time that when you're able to figure it out. So keeping that communication with talking to people that are working underneath you and talking to people above you, it kind of helps keep the flow of information.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel you had any courses at USF were you in accounting? I'm assuming maybe.
Mhm.
Okay. That help prepare you, because communicating your ideas isn't always as easy as what you think.
Yeah.
And making sure people hear what you think you're saying.
I know. It is hard. I would say, well, all of my professors that I had when I was at USF were great. I'm going to give, I guess, a special shout out to Jennifer Canis.
Yeah, do it.
She and Heather Lively, they both had a way of communicating some of the more complex areas of accounting in the most basic sense where it felt easier to like understand.
Did you want to add anything?
I would just say, like, time management is so key,
Mhm.
and just general professional skills will really like take you far in the workplace. So I know, in particular at GT, like we, at least from a university recruiting standpoint, are very much on a strict like timeline for various things throughout the recruitment process, which means a lot of ownership is put on students to get it together. Like, we need your transcripts by a particular time, like for a reason. So just being, mindful of that and taking some like ownership of your time, the people's time that you're recruiting with, like time management is gonna take you so far in life.
Agreed.
And I think as I hear the both of you, there's a lot of overlap too, right? Because I think of communications and then like, can I communicate like my boundaries, what's on my workload, so that I'm managing my time and managing people's expectations. So I'm setting myself up for success.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Being good with time management is also being considerate of other people's time of like, all right,
Mm.
how is this going to impact other people? Is this going to slow down
Mm-hmm.
the workflow, or is this allowed and you need the communication skills in order to make sure that?
So what internship opportunities exist at GT right now?
For our
Speak mostly to
students.
that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, David, too. Did you intern? with
I
GT?
did intern with GT,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a
no,
that's a great
USF
question.
alum and I guess a GT baby from
Yeah.
the beginning, yeah.
And hired from internship?
Hired from the internship, yeah. I interned in the spring of 2017. Started full-time in the fall of 2018.
Upon graduation.
Yeah, and I signed that internship offer on Halloween of 2015. That was really early.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So from an internship standpoint, we have very like traditional internships for accounting students. Our quote unquote winter internship would be like your traditional spring semester of school. So we do a winter internship, which is during busy season, and then we do a summer internship, which we're currently in right now. So that is what we will be looking for when we come to campus in the fall, is recruiting for those winter and summer internships. And then, throughout we have other programs too, like especially if you're not quite ready for an internship, there's a sophomore rotation program, which happens in the summer. And then we have an Empower program for first year students, which is like even before summer begins. So it's something that will kind of like follow you throughout your time at
Slash
USF.
stalk.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's a good way to get connected like early on if you can, and to kind of test the waters and make sure that, you know, the internship
I like the
is right.
rotation idea so that you get to see a lot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause
Kind
you
of
don't
think of
know.
it like a shadow
never know.
program in a sense. Like
Mhm.
you get to rotate around and kind of view the different areas of the business.
Follow-up question is like a career path, because you did intern,
Mhm.
transitioned into full-time employment,
Yep.
and then to the position. What did you start under as?
So under audit, the normal kind of like career structure is you can do an internship or not, because you could still land and be an associate, which is our entry level position. You start as an A1, an audit associate, and the normal career path is almost a promotion every year. And I think this is
Okay.
pretty similar across all the firms, as you're an A1 for your first year, and then you get promoted to an A2, so you're associate for 2 years, and then you become a senior, and so you'll be an S1, an S2, and an S3. So right now I'm an S2, about to be an S3. And then after that, your career path kind of goes into manager. And from what I understand, from manager, that's where you can really branch into a bunch of different areas in the firm. Like you could go down the partner line, you can go down a director line, a managing director line, you can transfer into more of our like specific service groups to like eventually I think I would like to be more of an internal facing like knowledge expert in the house. I don't ever want to, I guess, go down the partner route.
It's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone, but I'm just but basically from the manager point is where you can really start branching out. And then as far as I know, there's one person in our office who started out as an audit associate, and then they just wanted to change career paths completely, so they went into tax, and the firm was able to help them just make that transition easy. So they switched from an A1 to an A1
Under tax.
Under tax, yeah.
Okay.
And to your point of knowing of what you want and don't want, I think that's where like a shadow program where you're doing rotations is really helpful.
Yeah.
And why internships in general are helpful, right? It's like you get to figure out what you like and what you don't like. So you get to start figuring out, you know, as I go further in my career, rather than doing it after you graduate and it's like I'm in my first job, then my second job. It's like, you know, I'm actually finding what do I like, and am I in the right area?
And were you a senior when you did your internship? Senior level or
When
junior?
was that? When I signed the internship, I was a sophomore.
Oh, okay.
When I did the internship, I had just finished my bachelor's.
Oh,
And
okay.
so then after that ended, I went straight into my master's.
Because a lot of times I've had students asking questions, you know, when is the best time? And I mean, it really just depends on the
It
student,
depends
and
on,
it
yeah.
sometimes depends on the company and their structure.
Mhm.
But sometimes they're like, oh, I feel like I'm learning a lot about accounting in my classes, but what is the expectation when I get on,
Yeah.
you know, to work?
One of our interns currently right now, he still has one more semester left with his undergraduate. And it's funny, he hasn't even taken audit, like the class yet, and he's an audit internship.
And doing an audit internship.
Yeah, I thought that was funny when he
So
told
it
me
is
that.
totally manageable. I mean, you're going to
It's
learn.
manageable, yeah.
How was there a training, like a 2-week or
Yeah,
just
so
curious?
training,
Extensive.
it is
Extensive
extensive.
training.
When I started, my training was 2 weeks long. This past go round, it was 3 weeks long. And it kind of gives you a really high level overview of all the different things that you could possibly see during the course of an audit. And then we kind of communicate throughout that training. It was just like, this is probably not going to click. Just wait until you're on your client, like specific client engagements, and the real learning is going to be coming from like when you're on the specific engagement with whoever your senior is. And we're encouraged as seniors to just make sure that we're always talking to our interns,
I
even
was
if
going
you
to
don't
say,
have a
so
task.
you are working with
I have
interns
three.
now.
I have 3 interns right now working with me.
fun.
Yeah, Jake, Nick, and Brandon.
Okay.
So
Okay.
working with them right now, and even if I don't have work with them, I'll try to have them shadow me with whatever work that I can do. Because some tasks that we have, summer's usually slow. It doesn't make sense for me to send something over email that could take them 2 seconds versus like me showing them, all right, here, this is what I did in 2 seconds. But this is the reason why, like, we do this.
Okay, then I have to ask, so when you're working with these interns, what is it that makes you think twice and say, hey, this is someone we want to continue to invest in? Like, what can an intern do to make themselves stand out in that sense?
Well, from a technical side, I would is keeping the communication open, and then because if I'm talking to someone and they're able to be honest and just let me know, it's like, I didn't understand that, our normal expectation, I guess, for interns is you know nothing because you haven't had, other than like I expect you to know what a debit and credit is, but
Then I can find
the
out.
like
Great.
basic knowledge is going to be at the bottom, and then you're here to learn. So just a positive attitude, letting me know if you need a further explanation on something. If you're able to repeat information back to me that I just taught you, to like kind of give me your digest version of the information you just learned. And then from just a normal personal side is just be yourself. I want to get to know you because we're going to be spending our days working together. I don't want to work with a robot. I want to work with other people.
And thank you for sharing that, because I think one of the common misconceptions when we talk with students is that if I'm going into an internship, I have to have the experience already doing that. And that's one of the things we're like, no,
And
you're
you
going
don't.
into an internship so that you can get
You
this
get the experience, yeah.
So I think that's important.
And it's hard to remind yourself of that, because I remember being an intern too, like freaking out, be like, oh, I feel like I should have already known this. And the answer was no, I shouldn't have. You're there to learn.
Again, it just seems like a nice way to start and
Mhm.
learn and grow
Yes.
without fear of failure or something in that sense. So nice environment.
To David's point, he mentioned being a sophomore. Like when he signed, we recruit early on. So really spending your summers like preparing yourself. If accounting's for you, if public accounting is for you, just knowing the timeline, like connecting with people like myself, recruiters, coming to events that we do. Like I feel are constantly hosting socials and
A lot of
events.
events,
And
Okay, great,
you know.
because that's where we want to head next, but I don't want to
Yeah.
cut off
No.
summer programs.
You're good.
No, but networking, so ways for students to engage with GT
Yeah.
and get to know them, see a little bit of taste of the culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll see GT at the accounting fairs, meet the firms, events like that. We also do try to plug in like smaller events, whether that be like socials, office visits. We'll do like recruiter check-ins, kind of like one-on-one chats, where you can learn a little bit more about GT. So when I said like interviewing with GT felt like I was just talking to, a friend, just normal people, like we really bring that to every event that we go to. So if you are engaging, going to events, networking with us in the fall semester when we kick off recruitment, you're going to have the opportunity to meet so many different professionals. Like we really try to bring a variety of professionals to each of the events we go to so that you're meeting different people, getting different perspectives. Like it's never going to be you interacting with the same person every time.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
especially not me, because I know that can be probably boring.
And what are you looking to see from students at a career fair or a networking event?
Bring your resume. That's super important. We definitely appreciate getting those resumes. Also, doing a little bit of background research on the organization, coming prepared and knowing who we are is often a really big indication. Yeah, it's very helpful.
I do remember one career fair where a student came and was like, so what do you do?
Yeah.
And we were at the accounting career fair. I was like, oh, what level are you?
Yeah, so, whatever year you are in school, just knowing a little bit about us. So obviously we can share all of the things, but just the very basic things you can find on things like Handshake. We have a company bio. You could literally Google us. So you can learn a lot about the organization just in advance, and maybe even coming prepared with some things that you want to know.
Right.
Like,
Right.
why are you here? Like, what do you want to know from us that you can't find on the website or through your own research?
Yeah, some good bit of advice that students should remember is always that, like, this is also your chance to interview all the firms.
Yeah.
This is, like, one of the professions where you're not really job hunting. You're trying to find the best fit to where you're going to have your job.
I like that students can start early and obviously encouraged to start early, but we've seen it sometimes where a company, they're like, oh, you need more exposure. You need to have taken these classes already. So sometimes students are kind of caught in between, but it seems like with GT, you're encouraged and want to start early as soon as possible.
For sure.
Okay.
I know you just gave us a little tip, but David, what advice would you offer students interested working at GT?
Definitely ask the questions that you would want to know about what life is like working at GT, and kind of just have your predetermined answers of like what you're looking for. that are going to fit you best. And then just normal advice. I keep saying it, be yourself, but be yourself, like bringing it to work.
And that's so important because I think, often, especially when you're looking for your first job out of college, maybe less about internship, but first job, you're more focused on finding a job. And sometimes you don't necessarily have the affordability to pick and choose. But when you try so hard to make something fit, that's sometimes when you find that it's not the right fit. And so I think, that advice is really good advice.
And what is those little block games that kids play when they're trying to get the circle to stick in the square hole? I was like, if you feel like that's what's happening right now, it's just like realize that you have other options. Because accounting really is one of the career paths where you have multiple options of entry into.
I think too, especially in accounting, like what I've noticed is or I guess what my advice would be is don't be enticed by the little dangling carrot, just going with a firm just because
of a name.
They're the name, or they're
salary.
kind of enticing you. It really is about fit because like David mentioned, you spend so much of your time at work and around people that you want to make sure the place you go is a place that supports you, is with people that you want to be around. No one wants to go into work and be like, oh, I hate these people.
I agree. Because it's I'm not excited to go to work because I just love debits and credits. It's I'm excited to just talk to my coworkers. So overall, like I say, I love doing my job. Meanwhile, ask me that while I'm typing a memo, maybe I'll say something else.
But that brought up a good point. I wanted to ask, have you both felt supported and can see those avenues for growth? I know you have.
Oh, 100%. I was going to quit GT at one point because I didn't think I liked public accounting. But when I came that close to just signing the new offer, going into private accounting, I realized I was wait, I don't want to get into that routine of a senior accountant where I'm just doing the same thing every month. I don't want to give up my FTO. The salary difference was really, at the time, it was not that big of a jump for what I was doing versus to what I was going to get. So that didn't really come into play. And then I realized at that point too, all my coworkers at the end too, I really loved working with them, and I didn't want to give that up to go into just a smaller area to where, I don't know, my new worker BFF would just be whoever happens to be in accounts payable, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And sometimes with remote work, people forget, though, you're still working with a team, with groups, constantly. It's just a different way.
Yeah, it's just a different way. I never felt when that transition happened from being in person all the time to remote working. Well, us as auditors, we were always kind of remote. We were just at client sites. Now we were no longer at client sites. We're just working from home. But being on the phone with my coworkers, sharing screens, it's I have never experienced a lag in kind of that communication of knowledge being transferred. And that I still feel like I can get to know you just talking through the phone. I haven't felt a lag in any of that.
And I still feel like even if you're someone who's well, I don't really like working from home, I'm a social butterfly and I want to be around people, there's still so many opportunities to be involved and to be around people. You don't give that up, and that's one thing I think GT supports is we realize that there's not going to be a one thing fits everyone. We want to provide lots of opportunities. So I mentioned the BRGs. You want to be more involved? You want to meet people who have the same interests? Great. We will get you involved. Everyone at GT gets a coach, which maybe in a traditional sense you'd say oh, that's my manager. But at GT, having a coach is a lot more than that. This is supposed to be the person who really is your cheerleader, someone helping you
advocate,
move up to the next
mentor. It's a work mentor.
It's a career mentor, because you work with a lot of different managers, a lot of different partners when you're working audit. That coach is the one specific person.
That makes a difference. I really was looking for that in my first job. I kind of thought, because I was under the business umbrella, and you hear about these things and top companies and what they do to help support their employees, and it wasn't there. And it really, I didn't know what to do. I was kind of lost.
Yeah.
You just need a little guidance, and having that coach. That's fantastic.
Yeah, love it. Anything else you want to share with us about and share with our listeners about Grant Thornton?
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
we
everything.
No, in 30 seconds or less.
I mean, so I talked a lot, or maybe a little bit, about benefits, and that is maybe one thing that I don't think we talk about enough from like an internship standpoint. So yes, the traditional route to GT is likely like the internship experience and then moving into your associate role, etc. But GT provides benefits to our interns. Yeah, it may not be as extensive as like the associate route, but like you get benefits. So if that's something that's important to you, you need to like take that into consideration, especially when you get your full-time offer and really like looking through the benefits. It was really something that shocked me coming to GT is just how many things I had the opportunity to take advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
So we have things like a lifestyle spending account where I'm paying for my gym membership right now with it.
Nice.
Like, does not come out of pocket. Things like cell phone bills.
Yeah. I always forget that I have free eye and
right?
dental. I'm
Yes,
just like, oh my God, I can go whenever.
Data, what's
Yeah.
You've got like
Unlimited.
health, dental.
Yeah.
There's like this whole just laundry list of things that you can take advantage of, and to find a company that really has thought through the
Right.
process of like what could our employees need. Like we always say our people are our most valuable asset, and it's very clear like when you look at all the things that are available, they really do care, and they're thinking of things that maybe you had never even thought of.
2 final questions.
Uh-oh.
You guys ready?
Yes.
Okay. If you could go back in time and give yourself, your college self, advice, what would it be and why? We'll ask you both.
Go to your career center, go to your career service folks, like get a variety of opinions and help and assistance. Like those services are there for you on campus
Free.
for free. And when you get out of college, they are no longer free. They are in fact quite expensive. So if you want help, if you care about your future, like utilize those services that are available
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you for the promotion.
Mine is less, I guess, career focus. It would just be
That's
enjoy
okay.
your free time more, because you still get free time when as a professional, but it's obviously less because you're working more of a traditional
Mm-hmm.
5
Yeah.
days a week, 9
Right.
to 5. Just enjoy free time. Don't take things too seriously.
It's a great way to
Like I
end.
felt like I had to stay busy in college the entire time, but that is your opportunity to be like, just do what you need to do.
What is the best way for students to connect with you both?
Easy one for me would just be my work email, so which is david.corby@us.gt.com.
Great.
Same, I would say email, but of course, like I'm on LinkedIn all the time,
Mhm.
so definitely you can look me up on LinkedIn, Amanda Shere, and as David mentioned, it's amanda.shere@us.gt.com.
Yeah.
So
And if students have questions you wouldn't mind fielding and
Oh,
talking with
yeah.
them,
You can reach
Yeah.
out.
letting them open the door.
You can try on LinkedIn. I am really bad at looking at my
All
LinkedIn.
right, so Amanda.
yeah, yeah.
Let Amanda know on LinkedIn. She'll
But
tell me.
I mean, I guess truthfully, like come to the events on campus, because that is going to be your best opportunity to meet a variety of people and get a lot of your questions answered. So that when you do like reach out to myself or
Mhm.
David, you're coming with more intentional questions.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
maybe what is it like, you know, day in
Yeah.
the life of kind of thing
Mhm.
versus,
Mhm.
you know.
I would say, yeah, any of our social events, go to
Yeah.
those. I try to attend all
Yeah.
of these social events that we do, so you'll probably see me there.
Great. And we'll put your emails in our podcast description
Yeah.
and ways
Perfect.
they can connect with you.
Perfect.
Thank you for being here
Oh,
today to
thank
talk about
you.
Grant Thornton. So
Yeah.
many opportunities for our students. Subscribe to our podcast. We're on Apple, Spotify, and you can find us on the social media channels at USF at Tiedemann.